Hey everybody, this is Anna from New Labor. I'm here with Francisca from Mascosh. Do you want to introduce yourself? Just tell people a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Francisca. I'm from the Massachusetts Coalition for Occupational Safety and Health, MASCOSH, Worker Center, and labor advocate in Massachusetts, and a coalition that helps and supports workers.
So glad that you're here. Yeah, we just came out of a weekend where we were talking about temp agency worker conditions from across the country, talking about low wage workers in general and what folks have been going through during the pandemic and since. And it was just a really beautiful weekend where we got to share some of our common problems and also our common fights and victories. And so we're here today because we wanted to talk to folks a little bit about the fight for a temp agency bill of rights in New Jersey. Right now, we have this bill of rights that could be passed on Monday, November 21st. And it's known right now as one of the strongest bills in the country for temp agency workers. But that bill didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of all the work that folks did in New Jersey. And it also came from a legacy of organizing and work across the country, and specifically in Massachusetts. So, Francisca, I just wanted to ask you if you'd be willing to tell people a little bit about the bill in Massachusetts that you have for temp agency workers.
Yeah, so our bill was passed in 2012, being effective in January 2013. And before then, we didn't have anything, any regulations or guidelines that protect temporary workers. So when this law was passed, it was a good opportunity to give the guidelines for agencies to kind of like what employers need to do. So, for example, this law is called the Temporary Workers' Right to Know Act. So, it mainly gives employers guidelines on what workers need to know. So, for example, the first thing that said is that staffing agencies must give workers information in writing before each new assignment. That's like very important because they need to know, the staffing agency contact information, their workers' compensation insurance, contact information of where they'll be working, the company specifically, what job they're going to be doing, and the work hours and pay. And more importantly, is that all this information also need to be given in the language that they understand. Um, and also another thing that the law that says is that it says the fees and charges that are not allowed. So, for example, agencies cannot charge workers for registering with the agency, getting work assignments, any drug test, or like a criminal background check, a query background check, transportation that the employer requires the worker to use, and other transportation costs that are more than 3% of daily wages. So those are important regulations. And I think that generally the law also says that, temporary workers are protected by the same laws as other workers. So, for example, when it comes to the minimum wage, in the United States, we have the federal and we have the state. In Massachusetts, the state minimum wage is um, today in 2022 is $14.25 per hour. But in next year, it's going to change to $15 per hour. So staffing agencies need to follow this regulation. So that's like very in summary what the law has. It has some other specific regulations in terms of transportation, notices, and for example, the non-compete or cost of securing direct hire employment. But in general, it's a very general law. It gives very general protections to workers. So even though it's great, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Sure. Yeah, and it was one in 2012, you said, right?
Yeah, it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, no. And I think that it's like a lot of what you're talking about is also in the bill that we're about to get passed in New Jersey. I'm actually gonna show it here on the screen for folks, just like some of the number one things here. like you mentioned, like in terms of not having folks pay like van fees, right? Unfair deductions, clear disclosure of a lot of the time workers don't know where they're going for work. And it kind of spells out that, yes, the temp agencies and the employers are responsible for paying folks, for honoring their rights. And I think like one of the big game changers with this bill and why we see it as kind of like a next step from the Massachusetts bill is it also affirms the right to equal pay for equal work, right? Right now, a lot of folks who come in as temp workers, even though they'll work for years or months or years at a job, are justified as being paid less than permanent workers, right? So it constantly lowers the bar for the permanent workers who might want higher wages. And also, of course, the temp workers are always like justified with being paid less, right? And what we're seeing right now is a lot of the folks who want to see this bill fail in New Jersey are saying, you know, it's too ambitious. It's, you know, gonna really drive companies to go bankrupt, et cetera. To which a lot of the time we say, if you're following the laws, it shouldn't really affect you at all, right? And a lot of them are actually like saying like, hey, there was this great win in Massachusetts, why don't we model our bill on the Massachusetts legislation? And what we've been saying is like, no, we need to push for this bill because it's some of the strongest language that there has ever been put forward. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, like as somebody from Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that for us, yes, our law, it's, you know, it's good. But I think that it was done 10 years ago when the situation for workers 10 years ago might be different than now. You know, we have we are still are seeing many complaints from temporary workers. An example is the case of the hotel workers that we had recently, and some of those workers were at New Year's Eve this past weekend on the company. And you know, the Attorney General's office is receiving, you know, more than 500 cases a year just for temporary related to temporary workers, even though there might be more. There's still a lot of people that have, you know, don't know or don't know that they can report, or they don't report like cases. So there even might be even more. And even from those like cases that are reported, just a few of them can be enforced because it's, you know, the law, even though it's there, it's not very specific, so it's also very hard. I think that in general, as I said before, the protections in Massachusetts are, you know, are there, but are very general when it comes to the temporary workers, right? They don't give like very specific guidelines. They're very vague. So it's very easy for agencies or even companies to take advantage of the gray areas that the law has, right? There is a lot of like blank spaces. So it's very easy for employers to take advantage of that, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, I think that, you know, walking away from this weekend, it's
Mhm.
really clear that temp agency workers are ready to get organized and coordinated at the national level, fight for federal legislation. And that's why I just like appreciate you so much being here, because we honor the work that's been done in Massachusetts to win this bill. And we could never have gotten to winning what we're about to win in New Jersey without working together across our states, right? And but that we need to hold firm to the bill in New Jersey S511 as it is, because it is literally like built on the win in Massachusetts. It takes it one step further and really hones in on that equal pay for equal work. And I just like really thank you for explaining those differences, because it's important to honor the work that's been done and move forward, right? The legislature
Right.
in New Jersey should want that, you know?
Yeah, that's correct. And I think that for us is also like for us in like as a worker center and like a organization in Massachusetts, we realize that like we need to open our eyes and we need to like reassess our own law. Like we need to like, and this is something we we're talking with like other Massachusetts groups that were in the convening, that we also need to start working and kind of like amend the like current protections for temporary workers, because they're not enough. We're still we are seeing even more cases than before the law was passed. We're seeing the same situations and even more. So it's not that the law helped improve the situation. It made it better, but it's still, there's a lot of work to be done. So it's also a good thing for us, because we need to start working on our legislation as well, and we're more than happy to support you guys in New Jersey. So it's, yeah.
And we'll be right there with you in Massachusetts too.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely.
These bigger companies keep getting bigger, but the movement for temp agency workers is getting bigger too. That's beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. And like, we just have a message for New Jersey senators, like pass the law as it is. This is the next step for workers. And if you're really serious about like stepping up for BIPOC migrant workers, then you need to pass this law on Monday, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we agreed.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right.